My 14-year-old daughter spent 3 days rehearsing a speech for my parents' anniversary. "Oh, don't embarrass yourself," my mom said. My dad nodded. Then they handed the mic to my sister's son. I didn't shout. Then it was my turn to speak. I got up and said this. It left everyone speechless. We should have known. That's what gets me now. How obvious it all was. My mom's tight little smile every time my daughter Leah mentioned her speech. The way Dad kept changing the subject when we brought it up. The extra chair squeezed at the kids' table. The fact that my sister's son showed up in a full suit like he was hosting the damn thing. But Leah still believed she had a place. She held on to those cue cards like they were her passport. Like if she just stood up straight enough, practiced long enough, smiled wide enough, they'd see her. She spent 3 nights rehearsing in her room, whispering lines into her mirror, tapping her fingers against her leg to keep time. She'd written the speech herself, printed it, then rewrote it by hand because typed looks less personal. She put her name on the back, just in case she dropped it and someone picked it up and wondered who had tried so hard. She was 14, in that weird place between girl and almost woman, where you still think trying matters, where you think sincerity will win over tradition, that if you work hard enough, even the people who've always overlooked you might finally say, "Good job." I should have told her how this would go, but she was so proud of it, so excited, and I wanted it to go right for once. The venue was a hotel ballroom about 2 hours from our house. Round tables, champagne flutes, folded napkins shaped like swans, a piano player in the corner doing a jazz version of My Heart Will Go On, that kind of thing. We got there early. My sister Kimberly was already there, of course, flitting around with her clipboard like she was running a TED conference. She greeted us with a big air kiss and a loud, "You made it!" like I was a delivery and not her older sister. "Ethan's going to do a little something after dessert," she added casually, like we were all in on the plan. Ethan, her son, 12. Confident in the way boys get when they're applauded for breathing. He was wearing a blazer, for God's sake. My parents smiled when we walked in. My dad gave Leah a quick nod and a, "Hey there, kiddo." My mom looked her up and down and said, "My, you've gotten tall." Then they moved on. To Kimberly. To Ethan. To the people who always get the mic. We sat near the back. Not far enough to be rude. Far enough that it would take effort to include us. Leah didn't eat much. She picked at her food, kept her hand on her purse the entire time, where her folded speech was. She'd brought 2 copies, one in her purse, one tucked in her coat pocket, just in case. I kept watching her mouth the lines to herself, practicing under her breath, eyes on the front of the room like she was trying to memorize the distance. I squeezed her hand. "You're ready," I told her. Dessert came. Dry chocolate cake and tiny mints no one touched. Then the toasts began. Aunt Cheryl went first, told a story about my mom learning to drive in the 70s. Got a big laugh. Uncle Dave talked about how my dad once tried to fix a dishwasher with a butter knife. More laughter. Then Kimberly stood. Of course she did. She had a slideshow queued up, full of soft focus photos and sentimental music. Their wedding, their first house, beach vacations, grandkids, mostly Ethan, of course. My mom dabbed her eyes halfway through. Standing ovation. Then my mom stood and said, "If anyone else wants to say a few words, now's the time." Leah stood. Just a little. Not all the way. A half stand, like she was testing the floor beneath her. My mom looked directly at her and said, "Oh, don't embarrass yourself." She didn't even whisper it. Just said it. Offhand. Like she was doing Leah a kindness. My dad nodded. Silent agreement. Leah froze. She didn't sit down. She just stopped rising. Her shoulders slumped. Her hand trembled slightly as she folded her speech and laid it in her lap. Then, without pause, the mic was passed to Ethan. "Let's hear something fun!" someone called. And that was that. Ethan launched into a comedy routine. Half-made-up stories about family vacations, impressions of Grandpa falling asleep at barbecues. He even had props. People laughed. Someone clapped mid-story. I couldn't look at Leah. I couldn't not look at her. She sat perfectly still, her lips pressed together, staring straight ahead like she could disappear if she stayed quiet enough. When Ethan finished, Kimberly hugged him like he'd just won a scholarship. My mom gave him a kiss. My dad clapped him on the back. No one turned toward Leah. No one asked. She folded her speech again, slipped it into her purse like it was something shameful. And then the host said, "Now a few words from the eldest daughter." I stood. Leah didn't look at me. She didn't need to. My mom smiled faintly. My dad sipped his drink. I walked to the mic, and I smiled back. The kind of smile you give right before you tip the first domino. I used to think there was nothing really wrong. Not with them. Not with me. Not with any of it. I used to think I was just the quiet one. The serious one. The one who took after Dad's side. The one who didn't need the spotlight. That's what they told me. That's what I told myself. Kimberly was the favorite. That part was never really in question. She was born loud and golden. Big laugh, bright voice, perfect comedic timing by the time she was 5. I remember her singing an entire A BBA medley in front of my grandparents one Christmas, wearing a boa made from wrapping paper. Everyone clapped like she'd cured something. I didn't do performances, not because I didn't want to, but because every time I opened my mouth, it was like people flinched. I had this pause, a habit of over-explaining, circling back, hesitating mid-thought. I'd get stuck on a word and start again. My voice would dip at the end of sentences. Teachers said I was thoughtful. At home, I was told to just spit it out. No one ever said it was a problem, but they also never listened. Kimberly got solos at school concerts. I got asked to help with chairs. She was told to speak up. I was told to wrap it up. They said it kindly. That's what still gets me. Like it was all a joke or a helpful little nudge. Don't drag it out. Let someone else talk now. You're better at writing anyway. I wasn't diagnosed with anything. I wasn't sent to therapy. No one said I needed help. Just that I was a little hard to follow. A little awkward. A little too much work. So I shrank. I got quiet. Learned how to sit and smile and let Kimberly take the mic. I told myself I didn't want it anyway. And for years, I believed that. Until Leah. She was soft-spoken from the start. Big eyes, gentle voice, careful. But as she got older, we noticed it wasn't just shyness. She struggled to get words out. She'd start to speak, and her mouth would move, but no sound would come. Or she'd repeat the first part of the sentence 2 or 3 times before she got through it. Sometimes she'd just give up mid-thought and look away. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't something she could hide. We had her tested. The diagnosis came when she was 6, expressive language disorder with stuttering under stress. And suddenly I saw myself, but louder. Louder in the struggle, sharper in the pain. All the parts I had blurred or softened from my own childhood were now sitting across from me at the kitchen table, trying to explain what happened at recess and getting stuck on the second word. She went to therapy, did her breathing exercises, practiced scripts. She worked so hard, and she got better, but never fast, never perfect. And my family, well, they handled it like they handle everything that makes them uncomfortable, with polite dismissal. She's sweet, they'd say, but don't put her on the spot. Maybe let someone else go first. She just needs more time. They never said it was her fault. They just made sure she was never included. She didn't get parts in family skits, never asked to say grace at Thanksgiving. At reunions, while the cousins did impromptu karaoke or told stories, she'd sit in the corner and watch. And it hit me hard that they were treating her exactly the way they treated me. Only worse, because at least with me, they could pretend they didn't know. With her, they knew. She had a diagnosis, a treatment plan, a name for what she was going through. And still, they shut her out. Like it was easier. Like silence made things more comfortable. And for a long time, I tried to tell myself it wasn't the same. That maybe I was just being sensitive. That they didn't mean harm. That it wasn't favoritism. It was just preference. Compatibility, that Kimberly's loudness made things easier, that I was imagining the way they never asked for my opinion, or left me out of slideshows, or gave me mugs that said things like, "World's okayest sister." But then I watched my daughter get cut off before she even stood up, watched her hold her carefully written speech, the one she practiced for 3 nights, and get told, "Don't embarrass yourself." And it snapped something inside me. Because for the first time, I saw it without the filters I used to protect myself. They didn't just prefer Kimberly. They didn't just overlook me. They made a choice, over and over again. A choice to center the loud one, the polished one, the easy one, and to keep the rest of us small. And now they were doing it to Leah. Only this time, I wasn't a kid. This time, I saw it in real time. And I was done pretending it was okay. You ever have a moment where your body moves before your brain catches up? That was me, standing up when the host said, "A few words from the eldest daughter." Not because I had something prepared, not because I wanted to speak, but because I had to. I had to. Leah was still beside me, her purse closed, her hands folded in her lap like she was praying. She didn't look at me. But I could feel her, tight, quiet, humiliated in that bone-deep way that sticks for years. I picked up my wine glass, not because I needed a drink, but because it gave me something to do with my hands while I walked up there. The mic stand wobbled. Someone cleared their throat. A fork clinked. Kimberly looked mildly bored. My mom adjusted her bracelet. I looked out at the room. All of them. The same people who clapped for Ethan like he was the second coming of Robin Williams. The same people who didn't notice, or didn't care, that Leah had tried to stand, had tried to speak. I took a breath. "I had something I was going to say tonight," I began. "But I think someone else should be heard first." People shifted. A few glanced at Kimberly, confused. A pause fell over the room like someone had cut the power. I reached into my purse. Not my speech. Leah's. She had handed it to me at some point. I hadn't even realized when. Maybe on instinct. Maybe because she knew I was the only one who'd do something with it. The paper was slightly crumpled. The ink slightly faded in places where she'd gone over it twice, trying to make it perfect. I unfolded it, raised my eyes, and started to read. "Hi, I'm Leah. I'm Ronald and Diane's granddaughter." A few heads turned, a couple of polite smiles. No one clapped. Not yet. "I wanted to say something tonight because, well, 40 years is a long time, and I've been lucky to watch how you've stayed together." The room went still. No one was laughing anymore. She'd written it like a letter, sweet, honest, full of little observations that could only come from watching carefully and loving quietly. She mentioned how my dad always refills my mom's coffee before she asks, how my mom saves gift bags and folds them neatly under the guest bed, how they always sit on the same side of the couch during movie nights. Nothing flashy, just real. I read it all, word for word. Near the end, her handwriting changed. More pressure on the pen, fewer crossed-out words. She had written, "I know I speak differently. I know I pause a lot or start over, but I wanted to say thank you, and I mean it, even if I don't sound perfect." Silence. No one moved. I looked up from the page. My voice didn't crack. My hands didn't shake. "She practiced this every night this week," I said, "but she wasn't given the mic." Still silence. I let it stretch, just long enough to feel the discomfort settle on every table. One cousin blinked too fast. Another looked at her lap. Someone at the back gave a slow clap. Then another, and another. Polite applause. Kimberly didn't move. My mom kept her hands folded on her napkin like she was posing for a portrait. But I could feel the shift. Just a little. Afterward, I sat back down. Leah didn't say anything. Just looked at me like I'd said something she hadn't known she needed to hear. Then a woman from my mom's side came over, gently, like she didn't want to spook us. "That was beautiful," she said to Leah. "I'm sorry you didn't get to read it yourself." Leah nodded, just barely. "You're a beautiful writer," she added. "Don't stop." Another cousin gave her a side hug. Someone else said, "I didn't know you had that in you." And Leah, she didn't smile exactly, but something in her relaxed. Like maybe for the first time, someone had heard her. I didn't gloat. I didn't look at Kimberly. I didn't need to. The damage was done. The truth was out. And for once, the loudest voice in the room didn't get the last word. The voicemail came at 6:13 a.m. No greeting. No pause. "You had to humiliate us in front of everyone?" my mom snapped. "That was completely unnecessary." "Your father's furious. We looked like fools." Click. No "call me back." No "good morning." Just fury in a pressed blouse. I played it on speaker. Leah was eating cereal in her pajamas, still half asleep. She didn't flinch. Another ding. A text from Kimberly. "Seriously? Over a speech? You've turned her into some kind of victim. You should be ashamed. Ashamed. Not for what they did. Ashamed for not letting them get away with it quietly." I didn't respond. Not to either of them. I wasn't in the mood to interpret passive aggression before coffee. But Leah looked up from her cereal and said, "Did I do something wrong?" That stopped me cold. I sat down. Took a breath. "No," I told her. "They're just not used to being on the other side of the silence." You'd think it would die down after that. You'd think they'd let it go. They didn't. The whispers started. Cousins texting cousins, aunts with opinions, people wondering why I chose that moment to be dramatic. Family events aren't the place for that. What exactly was she trying to prove? Why didn't she just let Ethan have his moment? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because he already had 20, and my daughter wasn't even offered one. But I didn't defend myself. I didn't send mass texts or call anyone to explain. I didn't argue. I didn't post some sanctimonious paragraph online about justice or healing or whatever, because Leah didn't need a campaign. She needed space. And then something happened. A few weeks later, a local teen program put out a call for speakers, a storytelling night for kids who wanted to share something real. Leah saw the flyer at school. She didn't say anything right away, but I saw her stop in the hallway, saw her stare at the sign longer than necessary, saw her take a photo of it with her phone. That night she asked, "Do you think I should do it?" I said, "I think this time no one else gets the mic." The night of the event, Leah was quiet. Not scared, just focused. Like she was steadying herself. The auditorium wasn't huge. Maybe 50 people, parents, students, a couple teachers. Nothing flashy. She was last on the program. She wore the same dress from the anniversary. New shoes, hair pulled back tight. When they called her name, she stood slowly, walked up to the podium like she'd been doing it her whole life. Her voice shook on the first sentence. Then it steadied. "I used to think I wasn't good at speaking," she said. Pause. "I thought maybe I just needed more practice. Or more time. Or to be a little more like the people who always got to talk silence in the room. I wrote a speech for my grandparents once. I practiced it for 3 days. I timed it. I even rehearsed in front of a mirror, but when I tried to stand up and give it, someone said, 'Don't embarrass yourself.'" A few gasps. She didn't name names. She didn't have to. I didn't embarrass myself. I just waited for the right room. That was it. Applause started before she even left the stage. A standing ovation. Real, from the gut clapping. Not polite, not performative. One of the organizers came up after, asked if she'd join their youth panel on advocacy and self-expression. Another adult said, "She made me cry. I hope she keeps talking." We got in the car. Leah looked out the window. Then she said, "I didn't know it could feel like that." Like what? Being heard. The next morning, a video of her speech was posted online, shared by a relative. Not me. Someone who'd been at the party. Someone who'd watched her fold that speech in silence. It got passed around, quietly at first. Then not so quietly. Another voicemail from my mom. "This is going too far. We're being dragged through the mud just because we didn't want her to speak. You need to fix this." Fix what exactly? No one was named. No one was accused. The only thing Leah said was the truth. And that's what scared them. Because it turns out, when you've spent your whole life shaping the story, even one unfiltered sentence feels like an earthquake. A month later, we were invited to another family event. Smaller, casual, just drinks and snacks and awkward attempts at normal. I almost didn't go. Leah didn't want to either. But something in me said, let them see. Let them see how we walk in without shame. Let them feel the weight of everything they didn't say. The room went quiet when we arrived. Polite smiles, stiff hugs. My mom offered Leah a juice. Kimberly waved awkwardly from the kitchen. Halfway through, someone tapped a fork against a glass. "Does anyone want to say a few words?" Pause. A few people glanced at Leah. Then more. No one spoke. No one interrupted. She stood. Slowly. Calmly. She looked around the room. The same room that once silenced her. Then she raised her glass. "To being heard. Finally." And sat back down. No applause. No jokes. Just silence. The good kind. The kind that means, this time, everyone is listening. 3 months later, we were at another family thing. Backyard, plastic champagne flutes, folding chairs sinking into the grass. Everyone pretending nothing had happened. And then I heard it. "She really blew us away with that speech," my mom was telling someone. Loud enough to float across the patio. Kimberly chimed in. "We always encouraged her, you know. I helped her write it, gave her some phrasing ideas. We're just so proud Leah was beside me, sipping lemonade. She didn't turn, just raised one eyebrow and muttered, 'Seriously?' I didn't answer, because it got better. They were talking to Maria, the cousin who sat at our table during the anniversary. The one who saw Leah stand up, saw her get shut down, watched me read that crumpled paper at the mic while everyone stared at their plates. Maria said nothing. She just gave them a long, slow look. Not angry, not amused. Just the kind of look that says, 'I was there, and you sound ridiculous.'" Kimberly faltered halfway through a sentence. My mom cleared her throat and changed the subject. Leah leaned closer and whispered, "They actually think people believe that?" I said, "They're not talking to people. They're talking to their image." She nodded. "Still embarrassing. It was. But we didn't say anything. We didn't need to. Let them tell their version. Everyone who mattered already heard the truth. Did I go too far or not far enough? Leave a comment and subscribe.